Yes, okay. Shall we start? Yeah. Okay. I'm so happy to be here. I have a kind of disoriented and hope not disorienting day. So mainly I would like to share with you my concerns about curriculum from a different perspective by focusing on assessment. I think I know everyone here except for Maria.
Yes.
And another Mayra. This Mayra, okay? Would you like to introduce yourselves? Maybe some others do not really know you.
She's a member of our department, and Maria is the member of another department.
Oh, okay.
So I teach English for non-language students.
I see. Okay,
Only
good.
first-year students.
Don't really, because of our daily routines and lots of hours to teach, we do not really know what our curriculum is at all levels: primary school, secondary school, high school, university level, at all levels. We have a polarizing position. In one segment of our work, there is teaching, preparing for the class we are going to teach the next day, or preparing ourselves for the future, or preparing, which means updating the past teaching of ours. That's to say, reflective teaching, giving ourselves feedback. So preparation is also somewhere around here. But preparation, how do you say preparation in Kazakh? What is it? Dayındık. Okay, we say hazırlık, you say dayındık. So when you say dayındık, okay, preparing for what? As I've mentioned before. The next lesson, where is that? Getting together, like preparation again, for instance, or even assessment, or even teaching. Do we as department members get together, reflect, find the problems, prepare remedies or solutions? Novice.
Yeah. During my second year, so experienced professors attended my classes.
Observed.
Yes, and they gave me such notes. Where should I work? Where should I prepare?
It is called tutoring. For example, senior teachers.
Some kind of tutoring,
give
maybe, yes.
reflection.
And it helped me a lot during my.
Yeah.
So I call it preparation.
Yeah. But it is also assessment. But it is also assessment. You are being assessed as a novice teacher.
Maybe.
So we are actually being assessed by our learners.
By learners?
Of course.
Yes,
What makes you a good teacher? What makes a teacher good, and what makes a teacher effective, and what makes a teacher intolerable?
I want to add, in terms of primary school or secondary schools, they have a good teaching practice because they can, all these things, curriculum preparation and assessment are very well done. And for example, they have lesson study. In the lesson study courses, there will be one group of members. For example, in one group there will be 4 or 5 teachers of English or different kinds of subjects. And they gather, they will find out where they have pros and cons in their subject and how they can assess learners, or learners how can they assess them. And they, during discussion, they make their plan, they prepare together their plan minute by minute, and then they will provide classes, and after the classes they will ask learners to assess them, what was interesting, what was difficult for them, and what should be changed, in what kind of tasks should be changed, and what was difficult for them. And then they use assessment and also reflection. And in primary or secondary schools, they have such kind of
Yeah.
But at the university, I cannot say just we have demo lessons or open lessons. We provide our lectures or seminars, and the teachers of the department will gather, discuss, assess you, but not students.
Yeah.
Can I say something?
Sure.
They have their own, they have degrees, they have their own preparation, they have very different subjects. So that's why actually it's individual struggle in a way, I think. So every teacher tries just to find out whether his learners are satisfied. Yes. At the end of the lesson, for example, or at the end of the course, he can provide his students with a kind of questionnaire, like what would you like, what did you expect from this course or from this, what did you learn from this, and what would you like to learn more?
Yeah. KWL approach.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
wonderful. Yeah.
Whether this course was useful for you, had it changed you in general?
Yeah.
Because some courses, they don't make any effect. Sometimes the students understand some notional things, then I think it's too bad for teachers. So teachers should individually just try to find out the problems himself and try to solve these problems, because sometimes because of a lot of work, workload, etc. You have so much work at the university,
Yeah.
this paperwork and whatnot, just a lot of duties and responsibilities. So that's why here it's so, I think, individual struggle for students, because it all influences the future, our future professional. Our staying here at the university, our image of the department, image of teacher, all these things, they go together here, just in accurate assessment.
Well, great idea. So I don't know, everything you say, I'm sure brings something to your minds. They do. I'm still with your, for instance, remarks about being a novice teacher and being observed, and yours as well, But one thing I liked about, this is for you and this is for you, because none of the courses was, within our field of interest. So I got something, Survey of English Literature 3, I think. It was horrible, like the 17th and 18th century English literature, of which basically I know nothing. It was a terrible, 5-6 weeks for me. But one thing I noticed, and one thing that happened to me, and he just looked at me and he said, well, you are struggling, that's what counts. And it made me feel like a tiger, like a lion, I just said, hell yeah, I'm struggling, So I think that is also something, not only with colleagues, but also with students, having that organic relationship, pouring your inside out, saying that, I'm a terrible teacher, aren't I? And interestingly, the students at the end of the semester said that they learned more in my class. I still can't believe it, because I did a very messy job compared to the other professor, because the other professor was very traditional. I really respect her knowledge. She has one of the, best papers in the field of her area in the world. She doesn't even publish in Turkey, So I don't know how you feel about it, but I think this organic unity is something very important, not only for ourselves, but for our departments. I think there are easy ways out. Interaction is one thing. Also, one thing we can do, I think, I found very, very useful, is to collaborating, but at the same time putting the curriculum together. Oftentimes our curricula are so dispersed. You are teaching something, she's teaching something, I'm teaching something. they are not really related. You know, students are taking linguistics here, literature there, media there, Kazakh language there, history there. And you know, what is the point of learning at this, you know, program?
We cannot. Like,
Are you
we
sure?
have,
No. For example, economics, philosophy, history of
Can't we, what I'm saying, can't we link economy, philosophy, literature,
in one
language?
module.
No, I mean, just in one semester. Aren't there any ways
No.
to link? Are you sure?
Now they are working, like each university have their like work. No, in our case, like if it is in a translation study, so practicing translators, and they all discuss, like they have such round table, and they all discuss like which theme maybe to include or not, something like that. Which elective courses to choose.
Nevertheless, I think it's impossible because the compulsory courses which is given by the
When we say content, of course, you cannot, for instance, say, like you cannot ask students, how was the financial situation in comparison to Poseidon's? That doesn't really make sense. That's not what I mean. But what I mean is, for instance, in many countries, including Kazakhstan, I know, you know, even biology and philosophy or religious studies and physical education are connected these days. Unification of the curriculum. There are many names.
Unification curriculum started from education, secondary education.
Yeah.
We have completely
Yeah. So why can't we do that then? Why can't we do that in universities, for instance?
Can you give it like I cannot
No,
get
You know, unrelated, it is fine. Unrelated, doesn't matter, just give me the names of the. No, but are you teaching here? No. You're teaching? No. I'm asking them now. They are teaching here.
No, our
You are teaching here. I thought you were teaching in another school.
in both places,
Okay.
part-time and full-time.
Okay. Give me the year.
For example, first course students, history of Kazakhstan,
Okay.
philosophy.
First year students.
Yes.
History of
Kazakhstan.
Kazakhstan. And
Basic English.
You mean humanitarian?
Humanitarian, this
courses.
Russian language.
Except ours.
Except ours, Russian language we have.
Kazakh
Russian
language.
Kazakh, Russian languages, economics.
okay, economics, everyone takes it? Do all students take economics?
Yes.
Okay, what else?
Culture study.
Cultural studies, everyone takes it, right?
Нет. Practical phonics.
Foreign language one.
Practical grammar.
Grammar, let's say grammar, okay, let's take this one.
Practical grammar.
grammar, phonetics.
So, students, what happens is that students run from one course to another, okay? These are totally unrelated subjects for them and for us. What I'm saying here is that if the goal of our university education is to create a certain type of individual, and that is the case, like in our programs, our departments have a prototypical graduate. Like at the end of this coursework, the graduates of this department will have the following qualities. But if these are all unrelated, how do we have that
Combined.
prototypical? Yeah, but they are not combined. It is like, you know, eggs, flour, water, sugar, milk, this and that, and okay, this. They have to be combined to make a cake, whatever. So the policies, our own curriculum, then it means that, well, that's not really correct. We don't have a prototypical end result. So what happens is that oftentimes contents of these courses are unified through tasks. That's what we call preparation. Another point, for instance, have you ever considered not related with economics? When you consider hunger, when you consider getting good, let's say, nutrition, how can we say physical education and economics are not related? Yeah.
If we want, we can find connection.
Exactly. That is what we call preparation.
But the main.
Just a second, no buts. No buts. No buts. You know, after this 1 hour, let's fantasize. After this 1 hour, you can go to your way, do your task, don't care about anything, that's fine, but just for an hour, let's fantasize. Isn't it what we call preparation? So what about within one course? For instance, let's say grammar. Simple past, present perfect, future perfect, this and that. Are they related? No. I mean, it is not a problem only across the curriculum. It's a major problem within one course. We teach just bits and pieces scattered here and there without not considering about, for instance, philosophy. You know, inductive, deductive. I mean, the content is there. What happens is that oftentimes I sit together with younger novice teachers, and I sit together and I say, you know, we talk about integrating curriculum. That's called integrated curriculum, and they reject. You know, at first they say they don't know philosophy and this. I said, have you ever taken the course book? Have you ever read the course book? Because the problem is that, you know, let's say philosophy is taught in Kazakh language. Yes. Okay? The teacher teaching that philosophy course in Kazakh, you can collaborate with that teacher and you can ask the teacher to, you know, give students the textbook in English or a reading in English. Okay? And then you do your grammar by using that text. Okay? Well, this is about preparation, but this is about also integration. Okay? So all these, when planned and thought together, this gives us a lot of, for instance, tasks. Students must come to class for 2 hours a week, and they have to work 6 more hours outside the class. Now my question, do they? And more importantly, do I give them the task of working for 6 hours? No. So how do I expect them to grow just by working 2 hours a week? 5 courses, it means that 10 hours students come to class and then they graduate. But in reality, it is like a 60-hour work for them. So we miss something. Students must work outside the class. Teachers should do something in the class, but not teaching. Planning, organizing, listening to them, reviewing, but not teaching. Because teaching is not something teaching is a different verb, don't you think? You know, I can give this to you. Yes, hold it please, Firuza. Okay, I gave it to her, right? But teach. You know, you say, it can only be done this way. Until someone says, wait a second, can't we apply it there? That's research. Okay? So I think anything is possible because research shows us that, at that, most meaningless or not appropriate point springs up that wonderful research opportunity. We have assumptions, but again, assessing our assumptions. Can't we? Can't we? One thing I did in my department, it's a small moving project, I agree, but they take one, the window painting or glass painting course. But you have to make sure that you connect them, okay? And some do. And, I tell them, it's ethically not correct, but there are wonderful research ideas, applications. Students, once they put their minds, they do. We just sometimes don't see it. But ask your students, for instance. Just give them an opportunity and give them 10 points for this. Ask them, give them a table to connect how the contents of the philosophy and computers, or computers and Russian, or cultural studies and physical training.
Do all the teachers, professors in Turkey practice that?
There are schools which make use of integrated curriculum.
In your department?
No. But that's what I'm saying. We are trying to move towards there. In our first year, we started to do that, but it's little by little, and it's a slow, which is what you might call grammar.
Mm-hmm.
There is one listening and pronunciation, reading and writing, cultural studies, and short story or prose, literary terms.
So
What we did.
Tasks, yes?
No, these are the names of the courses. Okay? Cultural issues, teacher or professor. Okay? Uses and works by using those grammar points. Okay? So she says, in this text, there are a lot of, uses of, let's say, indicatives, whatever, questions, models. Okay? I do that. And what is left? Reading and writing. Again, students, because they read all these materials, so what we did was, we put reading and writing, we placed it on Monday. So students first read, okay? And Tuesday or Monday afternoon, listening teacher comes. She takes the same text, students already read, and starts working on the sounds. Okay? So the students read the material twice. Can that be boring? Depends. There are tasks, preparation. And even if she doesn't do that, she works on she doesn't have to let the students know, when we are reading it. She can just, do it deductively. So, anyway, Tuesday, cultural studies. Thursday, syntax, semantics, whatever, it goes on like this. So even the most unlikely topics, once worked, goes very well. And you know what happens? You have a plan for your 4-year curriculum ready and there. And another good point about this is that assessment becomes much more easier. Students' success increases now that students read the material many times. Okay? So there are many opportunities. You can ask students to do that. 4th-year students, for instance. And give them a task. Let them create. Some of their ideas you will be, surprised.
I want to ask you
you, how often do they meet? Do they meet weekly or
Who?
monthly? I mean, teachers who make tasks.
Once we did, just for like 1.5 hours, and in another meeting, like 2 weeks after that, we worked on the first unit. We just drank coffee and talked about it, and then we followed the same scheme. We started with the listening professor. She put all the materials there, and then reading, and then grammar, and then culture, and then short story, and that's it. So we did the same thing in other courses. In the upper levels or years, there are courses, for instance, British poetry, British drama, British novel in one semester. So we said, let's give them a chance, give students a chance to take some courses from American literature, American culture, and this and that. And then we said, how are we going to connect them? And I said, wait a second, I'm teaching American courses. So I said, what are you teaching? It's like 17th century, 16th century, which I don't know. So I said, okay, wait, immigration patterns. Okay, 17th century immigration patterns. I gave them a reading, and then the other professor asked, and I asked students if there are some instances in the novel that shows or marks that these individuals are likely to migrate, in the novels, in those 17th century novels, for instance.
So there are associations.
Yes.
They work.
Yes.
They work,
Yes. Lots of poster presentation, poster preparation. Students also do some statistics. Very different methods they employ. They find, for instance, statistics, ideas. So, but it is really helpful. It is really helpful. And it is easy because sometimes you do not have to assess every student. Like Bekoja, for instance, doesn't have to, give them a separate exam and check them. Gülnar Hoca doesn't have to do that in another course. Rather, we can do that just by looking at their, single poster and a one-page, reflective work on the material they produced for all these 5-6 courses. Because what counts is making the students work. And we have this assumption. For instance, today, let's say we met for 1 hour. I did most of the talk. So I assume you were passive learners. I know you are not, but the way it looks. The thing is that, yes, I'm trying to, suggest something, show something, say a different thing. But at the same time, there is no guarantee that you are actually getting what I'm saying. Another thing, I cannot control it. But that doesn't really guarantee that a revolution is on the way.
Yeah.
Because, I don't know what's happening in your minds. So, that is, I think, an important issue here. But still, when it comes to, instance, not teacher education or teacher discussion, but when it comes to, educating, quote unquote, the child or children, we are not supposed to do the talk. We are not supposed to do the task. If for in a 50-minute lesson, if you are doing the talk for 45 minutes, it means that, you are doing something, but students are basically shut off.
Students are oriented.
Yeah, they should be doing things, not us. We don't even have to check. One thing that I find very interesting, we have the questions and the key, and we try to hide the key from the students. Don't we? We do. Key is our sacred, the key is our sacred, experience. It's for us only. It is sacred to us. But I think just the opposite. Give them the key, they have the course book, and tell them what the question was. Then see what happens in the classroom. Because students start doing the work. They're like, what? Yeah? You have, do you play tennis? Yes, I do. Do you play tennis? Blank? Yes, I do. Yes, correct. No, just give them, yes, I do. What's the question? What's the question? So you have, exactly, you have input, a bombardment of input coming from students. So that's another way of looking at our classroom tasks. That's another way of assessing our material. And that's where research is produced, I think. That's where research stems from.
And how will we work with the students who have whose background knowledge is very poor or bad? For example, if we do in such a way.
Yeah. I have met a student here. He is third-year student. I asked him, how are you doing? And he said, no, I said,
How are your things?
no, I said, how old are, no, I said, how are you doing? He said, 19. I said, no, and he constantly looks at his friends for help.
Yeah.
And he doesn't understand English, or he appears to be so. He's a third-year student and his GPA is 2.07. Okay, I asked him. So I asked him, why are you not good at English? And he just looked at me and he said, I'm lazy, in Kazakh or Russian. His friends translated and his friends are laughing. At least he knows himself. But the thing is that our curriculum, our teaching methods, sometimes nothing, the families, society, nothing works for single learners, individuals. We are not responsible for those who do not struggle.
So what do you do with such students?
They
What do you
fail.
do?
They fail.
No, do you have such students in your department?
Oh, many of them.
So
Many of them.
what do you do?
How do you
What do you mean, what do you do?
How
How
do you motivate?
motivate them, or
No,
do
there
you
are,
let them just
well, we can do that.
No, I mean,
Raising motivation, right?
For
No,
example,
no, you
before?
don't. The thing is that a student doesn't come to class. He has a girlfriend, he is with the girlfriend, doing, mountain biking and everything. How am I going to motivate an 18-year-old boy who believes that he found the love of his life? And who is doing the most active, most fruitful thing he is doing?
So can he pass your course?
Definitely not. If he doesn't, of course not. If he doesn't do the tasks he's assigned to, he doesn't pass, of course. But the point is not to fail or pass, I think.
For our students, for our mentality, it is a point, I think.
Yeah, for our
example,
students too.
when I
For our students, the point is to pass or fail. It is not my concern. My concern is to give the best educational practice I can ever give to my students. Once or twice that student comes, and sometimes that student says, Hocam, you know what? I never come to class. Once I tried, I came to, let's say, half of the coursework, but I didn't learn in all those courses as much as I learned in your course. Why? Am I so perfect? No. It is just because, if nothing works, if something is boring, I just connect. Tell them to connect. Yeah, it is so unbelievably boring to be a student in this century. It is not like our generation. We didn't have much to do, Hocam. Even the course book was more colorful than our family life in the past. Don't you agree, Frieza? I mean, but today it is not like that. You know, a wild life is, running here. Students are, viewing something happening in Nicaragua. They are watching a dance. They are seeing someone singing. Action, exactly. And here a teacher is telling them that, for instance, the schwa sound is very important. I mean, can't we survive without the schwa? I think we can. Okay? But I think the point is not to, ask negative questions, to defend the status quo. Rather, ask all the possible questions we can ask because it is good for us as well. Our learning context, our learning places can be places of fun. That is the point. I mean, education doesn't need to be boring. Is there a rule like that?
I don't know. In my class, for example, I behave like a clown.
Exactly.
I do everything to make them read or understand the question.
There is nothing wrong being a clown, right?
Yeah, but it's fun.
Of course, definitely. But the point is that it is like, when they give you a shot, when we were children, they were like, down, okay? But here, we had this, COVID shots. No one did, bird is flying. I wish they did. I wish someone did, So I think there is nothing wrong with it. But what I'm trying to say here is not really about psychology or doing applying the correct methodology of teaching. No, but it's a warning. It's a warning. We are getting what we call in research literature burnout. Majority of teachers are already burned out. Classes are boring. We have foolish ideas about teaching. Okay? We have little preparation. We get nervous. We get anxious. We get angry very easily when students, quote unquote, don't understand. Okay? And this brings burnout.
Especially after pandemic.
Right? Right? So, but here I think the solution, one solution can be, I think you can try. It doesn't have to be 4-year package ready. No, just ask students. Ask students to come up with a curriculum. Students do read, by the way. Very interesting, but they just want to have fun in the classroom. But they read outside the class. Our students. They don't, just read, as perfect philosophers. That's a different issue. But they do read. They just have a look at the material. The point is to make them engaged in meaningful activities. And how do we do that? I think that's a wonderful opportunity for you having a course on economics. That's wonderful.
Actually, there are many subjects in our department which are interrelated with each other. For example, I found out creative writing is analytical reading.
Yes.
It's interpretation of the text.
Yes.
If they can't analyze the text, they won't write any story because
Exactly.
they even I asked, do you know in what genre will you write your story?
Yeah.
And they didn't answer.
Yeah.
I wondered why they don't know genres.
Yeah.
So now it's my duty to give them what kind of genres exist in literature. I wonder why they were not given this, you know, this knowledge.
Maybe they forgot because it is studied from at school.
Why
Literature
school?
during
Literature at university, they should know about
they should know
genres,
yes.
different genres, subgenres, you know, genres and
Yes.
etc. etc.
I agree with you. I asked third-year students here.
Yes, I thought
They didn't
all
answer.
our subjects at our department, they are interrelated with each other, and we can actually do this. Yes, we can
That's
do
why
it.
they don't know.
Yes, but well, I don't know the reason why, and just. But it's interesting. In creative writing, I give only tasks.
Yeah.
I don't just.
But how about this, Professor? For instance, economics, physical education, and creative writing. For instance, grammar. You just give the rules to the learners and tell them that their writing must be appropriate. You know, they are going to write a short story or a first-person account, autobiographical account, let's say creative, about a person who is having a financial crisis, okay? Who finds himself working as a, you know, let's say, trainer or an athlete, okay? So just consider this, okay?
I'm thinking about some basic things, you know, just in order to write.
And plus, you know, not every week all courses must be, you know, integrated. You know, sometimes economics can be singled out because that week it will be about a formula or it will be about something, you know, not really, it's more theoretical, in other words. But in the others, you know, small groups can be. Or let's say, for instance, here, right? Okay. For instance, grammar, cultural studies, Russian and Kazakh languages will be put together, okay? Their results, something about each week, a task will be given to them, such as preparing a podcast or a PowerPoint presentation, okay, for the computer course, okay? And philosophy, for instance, you know, can be there alone, but every 4 weeks, let's say, they write a reflective report, okay? Preparing podcasts, something like that. So, you know, computers and philosophy can be connected. So what I'm trying to say is there are many possibilities. And it's a great opportunity. Great opportunity. There are various, for instance, YouTube videos. We don't have to actually teach in the classroom. It's about preparing and sharing materials, accurate materials. For instance, while I was teaching, I learned about Masha and Midvid. Then I learned it's also in Turkish. Yeah. Great educational opportunity for philosophy meetings. Why not? Okay? You could ask, for instance, how there's a pig. What's her name? Rozichka? Rozichka. How the philosophy, think about, let's say there are two philosophical opposing positions, you know, liberalism and let's say another one. So how do these positions, for instance, which one is represented by Rozichka? Why is Rozichka a good liberal character? Okay? I don't know either. The point is that we don't need the key, you know? Things can be open-ended. So this is where students work and do and practice. So our department and I are working on a paper on the curriculum. So
it will be a scientific article for our Dulati University.
Yes.
For the magazine, for the journal.
Yeah. If you have specific ideas about the courses, like improvement, I don't know if you
Make
can.
include, right?
So I don't know if you can change the curriculum here easily. You can't. It comes from the state
No.
Ministry of Education.
All the compulsory courses comes from the state, and the elective courses we do, for example, in September, yes, we make for the whole 4 courses, for the whole term.
Okay, but philosophy, let's say philosophy is compulsory.
Compulsory history, education.
Okay.